Indeed. Yeah.
And if you don't enjoy it, oh well, I guess you'll just have to live and learn.
Yeah.
So yesterday, I saw Sonic 3 in the theater with my buddy. And so for some reason, we don't really go to the movies very often, but we have made the Sonic movies part of our tradition. But, Sonic was the last movie we saw before lockdowns.
Yeah.
We saw Sonic 2 when the world was opening up a bit again. And so we went out and saw Sonic 3. Now, I recall mentioning when I reviewed the previous one that I have a lot of knowledge of the Sonic series, even for games that I haven't personally played much of, just because I used to be in this rabbit hole of basically bitter fans of the Sonic Adventure era who were unhappy about how Sega had taken the franchise. It was interesting to watch them kind of dissect the series from various angles.
Yeah, okay.
So when I was watching the previous movie, and it ended with a guy from the Shield equivalent gun saying that there was an incident 50 years ago, I said, "Oh no," because that's how long ago Shadow was in stasis.
Yeah.
So, okay, the world basically knows who Sonic the Hedgehog is, especially after the first two movies. The progression of these movies has been interesting because the first one is, I think you've seen at least the first one, right?
I've seen I've seen 1 and 2. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And the aborted, awful Knuckles TV show, but that's
yeah.
But so you can agree with this progression. The first one is very much like a classic '90s, relatively inexpensive tie-in movie.
Yeah.
Because it's mostly a road trip with Sonic and the Donut Lord. Sonic is the only all CGI character for the most part. He's the only one that has any sort of significant screen time.
Yeah.
And when you kind of get down to it, Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik looks nothing like the character.
At least not in the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's like a lot of weird elements. Like it's very enthusiastic about, or it's very focused on his cop buddy played by is he James Marsden?
Yeah, James Marsden. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, guy went from Cyclops to this, so
yeah.
But it was very interested in his relationship with his wife. Like, so I think it was like a budget conscious thing where they didn't want to have too much of Sonic and too many characters of the same technical difficulty as Sonic, especially after they had to fix the CGI model.
Yes, because the infamous trailer where they first showed him and he just looked like, oh god,
yeah, nightmare fuel. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Second one was much more. It was like in keeping with the tone of the first one, but it was much more into the various furry characters. Like, you had Tails show up and be Sonic's buddy. You had Knuckles added as a villain antagonist who eventually teamed up with Sonic to fight Eggman.
Yeah.
But it still had like a big focus on the human storyline, probably to save budget.
Yeah.
Like, you had the weird. Everybody I've talked about that movie agrees that the whole wedding sequence with Donut Lord's wife's sister was unnecessary. And honestly, the character is kind of an enormous stereotype of almost Michael Bay-ish proportions.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
This one really commits to having the characters on the screen as much as humanly possible at all times.
Okay, that's good.
Like, of course, there are going to be some scenes with the human characters where there isn't a hedgehog or a fox or an echidna around, but it feels much more natural. So, in the aftermath of Sonic 2, Shadow the Hedgehog has been awoken from an old gun research facility where he's been kept in stasis for years. Now, one thing I noticed was weird is that he was being kept in a gun facility in Tokyo Bay.
Yeah.
But all the gun personnel who were there were white or Indian. So I don't know what's up with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
But so Shadow breaks out, and the themes of the movie has like some very simple themes, but it executes them pretty well.
Yeah.
It's things like, if horrible things happen to you, how do you respond to it?
Mm.
Because early on, like Donut Lord, who, it occurs to me, if you haven't seen this movie, Donut Lord is the police officer who is Sonic's surrogate dad in this universe. Like
Yeah.
Sonic is very much, like, I'd say his emotional age is like 13 or so, except that he hasn't shown any interest in girls or anything like that.
Yeah. We'll wait till that one character shows up.
Oh God. um, but like, so Gun shows up to get his help, him and his buddies help fighting Shadow in Tokyo, and a deeper plot is uncovered with a secret gun super weapon. While Dr. Robotnik apparently survived the previous movie, and he ends up tagging along at first before betraying them to team up with his 110-year-old grandfather. Here, his name is Gerald Robotnik. That's right.
Okay.
Who was involved with the facility that Shadow is kept at.
Okay.
Now, as far as and it turns into our heroes versus Gun, the Shield equivalent, versus Shadow and the Robotniks, all trying to get the keys to get to this evil, or to this super weapon that can destroy the whole world.
Mm.
So what I was not quite expecting is this is a pretty faithful retelling of Sonic Adventure 2's plot. Now there are certain elements that they don't have in there. Like, there is no Rouge the Bat, there is no Amy the Hedgehog. Or I should say, there is no Amy the Hedgehog until maybe there might be an after credit scene. Wink. There are 2 after credit scenes, so I'm not going to spoil them too much, but they are very fan servicey, and they may set up a Sonic 4, or they may just not go anywhere. We'll have to see. But excuse me.
Sorry.
Had to cough there.
That's all right.
Okay. But as far as the actual storyline goes, again, very faithful retelling with the characters there, and they do a good job of really portraying Shadow as a dark mirror of Sonic, which sounds obvious, but the game plots don't actually usually do too good a job of that.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like that should be the obvious thing. Because honestly, like, every time Shadow shows up in something, he tends to have this weird tendency to become the real protagonist and make Sonic seem uninteresting, which is kind of funny when you get down to it.
Yeah.
Well, it's because Shadow is the dark backstory. Now in this one, he wasn't a creation of Gerald Robotnik. He was another hedgehog they found in a meteor that fell from space. So it's unclear why he was there. It does make much more sense than, Dr. Gerald Robotnik, 50 years before Sonic showed up, just happened to decide to make the ultimate life form into a hedgehog shape for reasons.
Yeah.
Why? Shut up. That's why. So in this one, if he presumably is part of the same alien species as Sonic himself. So
okay. Yeah.
And he was. They were doing research at this facility. Shadow became friends with Gerald's daughter Maria, who in this one, she doesn't look quite as much like Alice in Wonderland, but not too far off.
Yeah.
But due to a misunderstanding and them thinking that Shadow was escaping, she ended up getting killed by gun soldiers. Shadow was put into stasis because he was kind of uncontrollable, and so when Shadow woke up, he swore bloody vengeance against all mankind.
Yeah.
And also, just because, when I say she looked like Alice in Wonderland,
she does. Wow. Jeez.
Now, as far as the cast goes, Jim Carrey is clearly having a lot of fun playing two different Robotniks teaming up.
Yeah.
In the original game, Gerald was long dead. In this one, it's like, well, we want to have two Jim Carreys here. Well, just lampshade the fact that he's 110 years old.
Yeah. And hey, Edwin, good to see you.
Hey, man.
Hey.
But Shadow is played by Keanu Reeves, who actually, so he doesn't sound very much like any game version, because Shadow always has this sort of anime edgy boy voice. Where Keanu Reeves just kind of sounds like John Wick.
Yeah.
So, but he does a good job.
Yeah.
Like I said, it does that theme of choosing to be better than the world has been to you in a very nice, satisfying way. There are nice lines that are set up. Like Maria and Shadow are looking at the stars, and Maria says, "Oh, my dad was saying that that the stars are the stars that we're looking at could have burnt out years ago, but we're still seeing their light," which of course is an obvious reference to just because Maria is dead doesn't mean that she would want him to destroy the world, right?
Right. Yeah.
Where Gerald is very much in that sort of vengeance, burn them all attitude, and our Dr. Robotnik is much more of the "I thought we were here to conquer the world, not destroy it" attitude.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the spectacle goes, I immediately saw where there was like one fight scene where Shadow and Sonic both get to use the Master Emerald used in the previous movies to go Super Saiyan, basically. And it's like, damn, this is a better fight than what we got in Man of Steel. Like
Ooh.
Dragon Ball style CGI action for like 5 minutes straight.
Wow.
Okay, I see where the budget went besides Keanu's paycheck.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. And this thing is just full of all sorts of references that I was catching. And as like, I would give myself like a C plus in Sonic lore for people who had like really absorbed these games. Like I'm sure there are lots of references I missed. Like there's one bit where they're in a gun helicopter being dropped off in Tokyo to fight Shadow. And Sonic says, "What's this? No in-fight movie, and the food stinks. We're out of here." Well, that's his opening from Sonic Adventure 2, where Gun had him captured, and he said that as he was breaking out of a gun military helicopter. Another nice little reference is that in the original Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow was like the ultimate life form, but Gerald Robotnik had made a different monster that you had to fight, which was like a weird low polygon salamander dinosaur hybrid thing.
Ooh.
That's featured in the background during the scenes where Shadow and Maria are bonding, where they were watching a movie called like the Freak from Outer Space or something. It's like a bad puppet version of that monster. So if you're a Sonic fan, there are just loads of references, and I'm not going to sit here and recount all of them.
Yeah.
The other weird thing, and I was not expecting this thing actually is in continuity with the crappy Knuckles the Echidna show that we watched on Paramount Plus.
Okay, I was wondering about that. I was wondering if anyone had to watch that show to know anything or know what was going on.
So what's going? First off, they had kind of the evil girl, like the evil gun agent, sociopath girl.
Yeah, the British woman.
Yeah, who kidnapped the. Am I mixing up shows? Like, didn't she kidnap some black police officer and force him to join Gun or something? Or am I mixing that up with something else?
She had a partner who was black. Was a black.
Okay, I think I'm mixing it up with another show where somebody had basically kidnapped somebody and recruited them into some sort of shadow operation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so she was around in a few scenes. But like if you just thought, oh, she is a gun agent, okay, cool. You didn't need to know anything from that show. No, the weirdest part was that Knuckles goes, yes, I entrusted the Master Emerald to a mighty warrior.
Okay.
And of course, it's the dumb guy who was the main character of the Knuckles show.
Wade. Yeah.
Wade. I was the only one who had seen that among the people I've talked to about it.
Oh.
That they were like kind of confused by that because they thought that they were going to cut to Donut Lord's dog or something. But no, like he's on the roof playing hockey by himself with the Master Emerald. Which, you know what? As much of a screw up as he was in his own show, it's very in keeping.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So he gets one scene. It's I'd say that having watched the Knuckles show makes that scene make slightly more sense. But if you hadn't seen it, you would just assume that, oh, Knuckles is an idiot and entrusted it to an idiot. Okay, cool. Moving on. Idris Elba is still great as Knuckles. I think it's Colleen Clinkenbeard who plays Tails.
I think that's right. Yeah.
She's unique because she's the only actual Sonic voice actor they brought in to play their character from the games. I guess it's because for Tails, where he's like a little boy, it makes sense to just have a woman voice actor who's good at little boy voices.
Yeah.
Just, rather than having to keep a real celebrity around.
Yeah. And yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
I would say that the only one who doesn't really get a great moment is Tails himself, because he is kind of second banana. Yeah. Even Stone, Robotnik's sidekick from the previous two movies, gets a nice send off.
Yeah, I remember that in the second movie. Yeah, that Tails really didn't have much to do.
I guess he is just player two.
Yeah,
when you get down to it.
Yeah, poor guy.
So would I recommend this if you watched the first two movies? Yes, this is arguably the best of the bunch. In fact, if you go, okay, so if you want to do like is the sisters, or excuse me, is the wife's sister around index? It's one scene and it isn't actually really her. That will make more sense if you watch it.
Okay,
but it's very brief.
All right.
So in fact, the only problem is that it kind of makes the whole 15-minute wedding subplot in Sonic 2 even less important. So
yeah,
because you kind of got the impression they were setting something up there. So on a reviewing of Sonic 2, I think you were totally within your rights to just skip any wedding scene.
Yes, yeah. All right, very good.
Yeah, so this basically it gives you everything you could possibly want from this movie. It's even got themes.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah.
Yep.